Hi Crafty Friends, my name is Tiffany of A Crafting Alley, and today I'm going to share with you my card design. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to create this fun spinner card using Cricut Design Space. So I hope you grabbed your free file so that we can get started. So let's head on over to Cricut Design Space.
All right, I just want to briefly go over the supplies that we'll need to make this awesome spinner card. So first off, you will need an electronic cutting machine like either the Cricut or Silhouette or a scissor machine. You can even probably do it with the Brother Scan and Cut. And I will be using the Cricut Maker. So that's the machine I have and that's what I'll be using. And you will also need a nice heavy cardstock. I like to use a Nina Classic Crest Solar White for all my card bases. It's nice and thick and it provides a good base for your card. Then you'll also need about 5 different color cardstocks for the elements of the card. And then I'll be using, you can either use black cardstock or you can use a black piece of vinyl or whatever color vinyl you want to use for the sentiment for the card. I like to use vinyl because it helps make it easy to take your transfer tape, pick up your sentiment from the vinyl, and everything is already kind of put together. So that way, when you put it on your card, you don't have to layer and glue down each letter individually like you would if you were using cardstock. So we'll be using vinyl for that. Then I will be using some foam tape to give some extra dimension to our card, which you could get from the Dollar Tree. They have awesome foam tape. And we'll be using some scissors. That's to cut my paper and foam tape if needed. And we'll be using, if you can either use the tape runner or liquid glue. I like to use liquid glue better to help move elements around before it sticks too hard. And it's hard to move around and come up. And you'll also need some regular tape. That's going to help us take down our fishing twine, which is kind of like the secret supply for our spinner card. And you need a brayer. I like to brayer my cardstock down onto my mat. You'll need your mats for your cutting machine. And if you're using vinyl, a weeding tool, and your transfer tape. And I also like to use a bone folder for any scoring that we'll do to make our creases nice and crisp and flat. And you'll also need a scoring tool because the file does use scoring in it. You can use the one that comes with the Cricut, or you can use a Cricut scoring wheel, and that's what I'll be using. So that's a brief overview of the supplies. Now we're going to head on over to Cricut Design Space and utilize that free file that I gave out. And we'll head over there and I'll show y'all how to put that in Design Space, upload it, and use it. All right, here we are. You want to go to Cricut Design Space and we want to click on New Project. And we want to upload an image, and we want to browse our files wherever you have my free file saved. Here's my Autumn Blessings SVG. Open. And we want to click on it. If you want to name it something, you can. Put any tag words to find it later, you can. Upload. Now it's here. We want to click on the image and go to Add to Canvas. So here it is on our canvas. And you want to be able to manipulate your layers and things, we need to click this button here, Ungroup. And we can click off of it. And we have all our pieces. Here you can see your layers. And what we need to do is this layer here, where you see the little dashed lines, we want to change that from a cut so it doesn't cut our base in half into score. Okay. And then so that when we go to make this project, the score line is on top of the base where we need it to be, you want to select the score line and also select the card base. And you want to hold your shift down while you're doing that to select them both. Then we want to click down here, the little paper clip, attach. And that's going to keep the things attached together.
Now, you see your other layers disappear. You don't see them, but don't freak out. They're still there. If you want to just move it so you can see it's there, it's there. And then next we want to click Make. You can save your project if you want to, or you don't have to. Okay, now we see all of our layers here. You want to make sure when you're on each material type that you choose the select type of materials you're using. So as each one pops up, you want to make sure you have, show you right here. You want to make sure you have the select your correct like paper settings, whether you're using vinyl, thick paper, or whatnot. For mine, I used heavy cardstock here. And you can see here, if you need to change your tools, you can edit it here. If you don't have the scoring wheel, you can choose the stylus and whatnot, but I do have the scoring wheel. So I'm going to I prefer the single scoring wheel. So I'm going to apply that and use that. In the next layer, I want to make sure I have this changed because this is going to be vinyl. It's going to be my premium vinyl. Now you can't go through like I'm doing now and choose all these settings. It's going to change on you when you go to create, but I just wanted to show you what I'm using for each layer. I'm using a kind of like a 60-pound cardstock for the rest of my layers. You want to do 60 or 80 pound so that it'll give you a good weight and you have a nice sturdy card. So you want to make sure you go through and change all. You can keep your pressure default. I do want to note that you want to make sure that your blades are really sharp because especially this layer here with the leaves is very detailed. So you want to make sure that your blade is sharp, and you also want to make sure that it's on a mat that's sticky enough to hold it down as it's cutting because it's very detailed and kind of small little pieces. So I use my standard and my light grip mats. I use my standard for the card base because it's a heavy cardstock, and these little detail cut on this layers you can use, or you can use them standard for all depending on the paper that you're using. So once you have all that set, you want to click Make and you can start. I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera for the sake of time, and then after everything's cut, I'll show you at my table how to go ahead and put this cool card together. And here is my card base. I use Nina Classic Crest Solar White. It's a 110-pound base, so it gives a good, sturdy, nice base. You can see on the mats that I use standard and light grip mats. Most of my paper were like a 60-pound, maybe a little bit heavier papers. They were glitter, thicker papers from Tonic Studios. They're really pretty, kind of shiny type papers. You can see with this very intricate leaf, I didn't put this tool on my supplies needed, but you will need your little scraper here so that you don't tear your little intricate leaves. You can see some of the pieces are kind of just falling off, which is great. That means we got a good clean cut. And you can see I'm just being really careful, especially with the very intricate leaves. All my little scraps I like to save because you never know when you might reuse them again. And so next we're gonna just poke out. I have my little pokey tool here and using my nails and my tool to kind of poke out all the little pieces. And you can see how pretty and intricate that leaf is. So I'm gonna put all my little, punch them out. I'm gonna put them all to the side and you'll see how pretty they are. It kind of takes a little time, so which is why I fast forward through. most of this card making video. See how pretty that leaf is. After I punch all of my little pieces out, I'm gonna clean my little space. See how pretty it is. And that's me looking for my score line and thinking I'll put everything together. Clean my space. I like to clean up as I craft so I don't have too much junk around. I have my liquid glue there, and I have my little Nouveau glue pen. It's a cool little pen. It comes in handy for these small, intricate pieces of paper that you want to glue together. Then I'll get my little tweezers. Kind of helps me pick everything up and put it together where I want. And you can see how pretty the leaf came out. I like to take my Stampin' blocks and set them on top of pieces. Give it some weight to it and help them stay together while the glue is drying. So those come in handy for that. If you have a Xyron, the Xyron may help with these little pieces. Instead of, if you don't like putting the little liquid glue on the back, you can run it through your Xyron machine and have little sticky backs automatically. But sometimes I don't like how the Xyron can leave the little strings of tacky glue on the back, so I prefer to use liquid glue. But you see how pretty the leaves are, especially with that glittery paper, shiny paper. Next, I'm going to take clean my space. And here, I'm going to get my bone folder. This is where your bone folder comes in handy. And I just make sure I line up the edges evenly, and I take my little bone folder and make a nice crisp edge, folding edge along that score line. Here is our clear fishing twine, and this is how we're going to have our pretty leaves spin. You see me measuring here. I like to leave about maybe 2 inches off the sides. It'll give us enough twine to make sure that we have enough so it doesn't fall apart. And if you have too much, you can always trim it, but it's better to have too much than too little. Here is where I take my vinyl and my little weeding tool, and I start to lift up my excess vinyl, and I kind of poke my letters through if they're not sticking to the bottom of the paper, and just make sure they kind of stay down while I'm pulling up my excess vinyl. And here's where you take your transfer tape, and I like to kind of run it across my jeans a little bit and make it not super sticky. Here I'm using my scraper tool to attach the letters to the transfer tape and pull it up. Here we're going to align it in the center of our top layer. Take a little scraping tool, make sure it's attached to the cardstock. And ta-da! We have our sentiment. So here you're going to see me attach the leaves to the third layer where I have all the leaves grouped together in a big outline. Again, I like to use my liquid glue for this. It gives you time to kind of move the leaf around if you don't have it centered. Unlike tape, once it's kind of down, it's kind of down with your tape. And I like to use sometimes I like to use my tweezers to hold my element while I add the glue. Here I'm taking my glue eraser and just kind of dabbing up any glue that I saw sticking out from the leaves as well as on my card base. Here is actually double-sided tape that I'm using to help stick down the twine onto the card base. And I kind of roll up some little pieces and make sure it sticks down well. And I'll extend the clear twine out to the sides of the card to make sure I have enough to keep it in place, because we don't want it coming up and falling apart. I've had that happen to me before, not using enough twine. And then if it's too long, then you just cut the edges that's too long if it sticks out. And that's what you see me doing there. Next, I'm going to take the next piece of cardstock, and I just measured to make sure that you couldn't see the tape sticking out. So that's what I did there. And I was trying to decide there if I was going to use foam tape on both pieces, and I did. So here's my foam tape I'm attaching. That I like this foam tape from the dollar store. It's very sticky though. Once it's down, it's down. So you make sure you put it where you want it. And those are my dedicated sticky scissors. Here's a little trick I learned somewhere from a YouTube video. If you pull up the tabs just like a third of the way of your sticky tape, it makes it so it gives you time to kind of figure out where you want to center it before it's all stuck down. I'm kind of going to do the same with this one. This tape here is too wide for the other end, so I have some skinnier foam tape that I'm going to use on the other ends of this piece of cardstock, so you can see it's skinnier. And again, I'm going to use my same method of pulling up the sides of the backing just about a third of the way, and then placing it centered, and then pulling up my backings after I have it where I want it. And ta-da! That part's done. Now we're going to attach our leaves to our fishing twine. Here I put the back on first so that I can tape down where I want the twine and kind of center it. Again, this is my double-sided sticky tape. It kind of helps give extra stick on both sides. Then I'm going to grab my liquid glue and put some liquid glue down. Make sure it's stuck really well, because you don't want it coming apart when you're trying to make it spin. Again, I'm using my little stamping blocks to put some weight on them while it dry, and I'm taking my glue eraser and erasing glue and other little bits of things so I can have a nice clean card. Here I'm taking my Memento black ink and my personalized stamp. I always like to stamp the back of my cards. It says, "Handmade with Love" by Tiffani Hawkins. So now our card is good and dry. I lift up my little blocks, check it out, make sure it's good. Again, erase any glue marks. And we have our beautiful Autumn Blessings spinner card with our leaves and our beautiful autumn colors. You can stamp your sentiment behind or right behind the leaves, and you want to twirl up the leaves really well till you feel it kind of get a little tight. And then once it's a little tight, you spin it quite a few times. You want to close it up. Then you want to grab your envelope. This is a pre-bought envelope I had from the store, You want to take your time and put it in there because it is dimensional. And close it up, and once you give it to your recipient and they open their card and they open it up and say, "You made this? Oh, it's so pretty. I love it." And then they open it. "Oh, wow, it spins. How cool." So there you have it, your spinner card. It's really fun to give and it's fun to receive. You have your name on the back and your sentiment behind your leaves on the inside.
Well, I hope I've got y'all excited to use your file to make your fun interactive spinner card. And here's another example of a spinner card, of the mini spinner cards that I have in my Etsy shop. I hope y'all take a look and find some more that you'd like to make. They're really fun to make and people love receiving them. Also, for our All Access Pass members, you're also going to get a free SVG file to create a matching envelope. It'll look like this. It'll say "with love" on it. It'll also come with a little part that you can insert it so that the tab flap will be a different color. And you can use whatever cardstock you want to make it. Also in my Etsy shop, I have cake toppers, some fun cake toppers, some that can also be customized with whomever's name you want to put on it. I also have like a matching stencil that you can go find. You can see that it's a layering stencils with 3 separate leaves and 3 separate fronts for the leaves. And that will be fun to go along with the file you just received. As you can see on the inside, I use the little leaves to put on the inside from our spinner card. I also sell these various sentiments that you can layer. This is 2-layered, and I have them in different fonts for different sayings, and they're really fun too. They're very pretty, different styles, ornates with flourishes and whatnot on them. So I have all those types of things in my Etsy shop. So I hope you visit me. I am on Etsy at A Crafting Alley SVGs, and you can also find me on my website at acraftingalley.com or on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at A Crafting Alley, and that's A Crafting Alley with a K. Thanks so much again for joining me on my demo, and I hope you like the spinner card. And if you decide to make it, I hope you share it with me on social media. Thanks again. Bye.